show is here. It is Thursday. That means it's time for a visit from Sheree Clark from Fork in the Road. And, of course, Valentine's Day coming up, just a couple of weekends away. And a lot of people thinking about the heart-shaped boxes. We saw one just the other day here on the show. A lot of people thinking about treats. But what if, Sheree, your doctor says, not so fast. You got to back off the sugar a little bit. But what if it's even worse? What if you can't eat those chocolates?
Right. Well, let's face it, we're a sugar addicted society. So even if your doctor didn't tell you couldn't eat it, and even if you're not diabetic, you really need to be thoughtful about how much sugar. And we started eating sugar on Halloween. And we continue Thanksgiving and Christmas.
So Valentine's Day, you're saying, is like Halloween, only colder.
Exactly.
Okay, got it.
Right.
Okay.
It's a crescendo of the winter sugar season. So what I want to do is talk today about some alternatives to sugar. Because, you know, I'm always talking about and always preaching, let's use the whole foods, let's not buy refined things. And so I do a lot of sweetening with dates, and I use honey, and I use maple syrup. But those things all contain a lot of sugar. So they calories, yes, density. Right. They spike your blood sugar. It's a high glucose level. And so what I wanted to do today was talk about alternatives to that. And alternatives, most of the time when people hear that, they start thinking of things like Splenda and NutraSweet and those fake sugar sweeteners, which I do not espouse at all. Those are all chemicals. Those are bad. Jason knows, he's shaking his head no.
They're bad.
They're really evil. But there are some more natural types of things and sweeteners that are really good. I brought for you today in the little bowl and I brought you a little spoon so you could just give it a taste. That's a sweetener.
Okay.
And this one, that one is called, it's a monk fruit. It's also called Lakanto.
Monk fruit?
Monk
kind of
fruit.
Like a brown sugar.
That's what I thought it was.
Oh, crazy. That's pretty good.
And it's a fruit-based sweetener. The glycemic level on it is 0. So it's really, so you are a sweetaholic, aren't you? You just ate that
Did you
whole
just
thing.
shoot that? Like a...
It has kind of almost a maple.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it reminds you of maple.
It does. Or maple molasses. Yeah, exactly. And they have this is the golden color. There's also a white color too. I really like it. It's not ridiculously sweet like some artificial sweetener types of things. And I feel funny even calling it artificial sweetener because it's very natural. It's made out of fruit. 0 calories.
Zero calories?
Zero calories, yeah. So, which is amazing because usually a 0-calorie thing scares me because I think chemicals.
Yeah, there's something else involved.
Right. So, and it's not an inexpensive sweetener. I want to say I spent maybe $8. It was probably on sale on this one.
Wow.
So it's not inexpensive, but then again, it's a sweetener. We're not supposed to be dumping it on things.
Well, are we talking baking with this, or just like if I want to sweeten my coffee up a little bit?
You can do both. It's a straight. You could use it in baking or is a straight across the board replacement for sugar.
Is the ratio the same?
Yes, exactly. So that's an alternative.
Okay.
That's good.
I put it sometimes if I'm having something like a coffee that I want to sweeten, I'll use it for that. So I like it. It's really good. Another sweetener I brought today. This one is erythritol, or I'm sorry, this one's xylitol. Erythritol is another one that's very similar.
We've heard of xylitol.
Xylitol, yes, and xylitol. Part of the reason they put xylitol in gum is it's supposed to be good for cavities.
Right.
And so, and I'm less concerned about that and more concerned once again about keeping our blood sugars pretty level. So this is another one very low in calories. It looks a lot like sugar. It's whiter than the golden color.
I didn't know you can get it in a container like that.
I really like it like that because it really keeps it from getting clumpy and it's easy to store. Once again, these are not inexpensive sweeteners, but I made you something with it, and I made you a little coconut cookie. Jason's looking skeptical. Yes.
No, that's
so it's a little soft.
It's a little soft. I dehydrated it. The only sweetener that I used is the xylitol. And then the other ingredients are obviously coconut, which surprisingly